Evening, everyone. We have some music going on. So we are Facebook Live as well. And I'll get the music down in just a couple of seconds. We are recording this session as well. And let me just make sure of one or two things. And we are good to go. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to session 3 of 5. I'm Chris. Welcome, Anand. Welcome, Frank. Thanks for joining us on the in the Zoom session. We are on Facebook Live as well. So we have a whole bunch of people, hopefully, watching this session. Interestingly, welcome, Coach D. Good evening. You can hear me, okay,
Hi,
Coach
Chris.
D? Yeah.
Loud
Okay.
and clear.
Awesome. And interestingly, the last session that we did, I think we went up to, I think, close to 900 views already. But
Yeah,
I checked it a
awesome.
couple of days ago. So
Cool.
the topic's quite interesting. This evening's topic is we're actually in session 3 of 5, and Coach D is taking care of and presenting for session 1, 3, and 5, and I did session 2, and I'll handle session 4 next week as well. So tonight's topic is how do you lead, and what are the fundamental skills required to demonstrate leadership? And we have Coach D presenting his thoughts and views on that. And Coach D, I want to give you a warning. The questions that you asked me last week were really, really hard. That's what caused all this gray hair. All right. If you were asking Frank those questions, or if Frank was asking those questions, I would not have the gray hair, Frank. Okay. Uh, I'm just kidding, Frank. Happy New Year. Okay.
Well, I look forward
Happy
to
New
them.
Year, Anand. Okay. And the questions that you asked me that caused all this gray hair, I busted out the encyclopedia on leadership. Man, I've got some tough questions for you tonight, Coach D.
I look
All right.
forward to them,
Okay.
Chris. Thank you.
So awesome. So I've got you into the co-host. Whenever you're ready, it's your show right now. Please
Thank
go
you, Chris.
ahead, Coach D.
Okay, first I want to welcome Frank and Anand here at the Zoom. Thank you for attending. So just give me 2 seconds here while I set up. So how's your guys' evening so far?
Good, good.
Awesome.
Awesome. Awesome.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, how's that, guys? Can you see the screen?
Yes. Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say good day and good evening and a very happy new year. Happy 2021 to all you all, okay? So I hope this webinar finds you all well rested with loved ones close by. And yeah, you guys are ready to fly. Okay, so I know a lot of you don't know exactly when I say fly, I mean to first lead yourself, okay? So, but I do want to add that although we're very excited to be here, and greeting you with in this 2021. I don't want to downplay or forget some of our listeners who may be going through some tough times now. And I hope these webinars will be a blessing to you in some small way. Okay, so with that said, we're going to jump right in now, right? This is part 2 of the Question of Leadership 3-part series. People ask me, why do you like to talk about leadership? And I reply, because it's like trying to get in shape, right? We all have goals, how much we want to weigh, how much muscle we want to gain, right? How much fat we want to lose. But what happens when we achieve them? Do we stop? No, we still need to eat, right? We still need to do some form of exercise to maintain our good health and our good fitness, right? But leadership is the same thing. There's no real end game. It's an ongoing journey. And for me, it's not a job or a title, but more of a responsibility. Okay. For me, what I've grown up with, my experience, I want to be able to be a good leader, not only to my team members or my partners, but to my children. right? So they can grow up and make responsible decisions in their lives, whatever they're doing, right? It could be in their careers, it can be in their personal lives, because leading for me is not about leading necessarily always leading a team, but it's giving value to myself. Okay, so and I hope people who joined us here tonight, they feel that they value themselves, that they would want to improve themselves on a daily basis. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the how of leadership. So we're going to be focusing on how do leaders lead, or mainly how do you lead, especially in times of turbulence like nowadays, right? So how are we a valuable team player in the company, right? How are you helping your company grow, right? And do we lead to help our people grow, right? So some will say in leadership, you need to influence. Well, how are you influenced? Okay, because good leaders influence, right? Bad leaders influence as well. And it said that adversity makes you stronger. But truthfully, I think adversity reveals who you are and how you lead. When we see how this pandemic has affected our lives personally and professionally, I believe the latter to be true. Adversity will separate leaders from wannabes, which means people leading from a position, not as a leader. Because as a leader, as a human being, we don't see how things really are. We see things how we really are. Leaders have a major effect on their team members. But you know what? I'm not sure many leaders realize that. Okay. And this goes the same for parents as well, right? We want to be good, responsible, a good inspiration to our kids. But sometimes, as parents, we get caught up with a lot of things that we kind of lose track about that. And a lot of feelings get in the way, right? A lot of emotions, a lot of pressure gets in the way. And we forget that we're we're not a leader anymore. We forget we're a leader, but we think we're a parent, or we take it really personally. So, to engage, right? With all things fair, being fair, right? The fact that people who leave companies, okay, they don't leave because of the company. You know that, right? They leave because of their leader's inability to lead properly, to engage, empower, inspire, to include, encourage, and even have a meaningful work relationship with the direct leader, right? So as a leader, you can either be gasoline or water to an already difficult situation within your company, right? So, and now since there seems to be a lot more talent available due to companies shutting down, what makes you think people want to work for your company? I mean, yeah, you can give them money, right? But if it's money, that just means that they will easily leave your company for the same reasons, which is fair, right? You can't blame them, right? But wouldn't you want to keep your good people? Wouldn't you want to find more good people, right? So as a leader, do not ever underestimate your role and power and responsibility to create an environment where your employees love to come to work and your customers love to do business with you. You can make a meaningful difference to your direct reports and your organizations. You know, People join an organization for a job and usually leave because of a manager. And if you think people leave for a bigger pay, you better think again. See, unless you're a very niche business, the average spread for an increase is about 5 to 8%. I mean, think about it. What company is going to pay double the market salary for someone in the same position, right? That doesn't make sense. Okay. Now, of course, if you're in a specific niche, you're very special, then you need special talents, then maybe people will pay a little bit more or double, right? But otherwise, all things being fair, right? The market price, you're going to get paid what the market's paying. No company is going to give you more just because you said so. And the funny thing is, right? If you ask someone says, well, the other company is giving more X amount increase. Don't start worrying and start giving more money, okay? I mean, think about it. Who's going to tell you they're leaving because I'm getting less money, right? You know, instead, you want to create a company where people want to work for you, right? We didn't choose this crisis we have today, but we can choose how to deal with it and lead yourself and your team through it, right? We need to lead today because it really matters. Your team wants it and your business needs it. Okay. So to start, I want to talk about some skill sets of good leaders, but mainly a character of a good leader. And the reason I mention character is because, right, the definition of character is revealing, distinguishing, or typical of an individual. The reason why I choose character is because, you hear a lot of talk about people have to do this, people have to do that. You should do this and be what kind of leader style you want to be. But character adds a deeper essence of the skill sets that we're going to mention in a bit. And because no
Coach
matter
D.
how good your skill sets are, like communication, business acumen, or commitments are, if your character is not right, then none of the rest really matters. Because that is where cheating, greed, cutting corners, and our integrity falls into play. Because either way you spin it, character will always trump talent. I mean, I can give a good example. I know a lot of people who had no education, okay? But because their character was so pure and honest and just easy to be around with, that they've gotten promoted to, regional directors, okay? At very high levels, okay? Compared to people who had education. And I can say this for a lot of my acquaintances that they did not have the kind of education that they needed, but they got into very high positions, right? So if you guys are business people, if you're entrepreneurs, okay, if you have good character, people are going to want to come work for you. People want to come do business with you, okay? So, I mean, so far, for example, many of us, we're still familiar with a lot of historical leaders who had character issues, right? I don't want to mention names, okay? Both historical and present, but both country and business leaders who may have had temporary victories but had character issues eventually lost the country or lost the business. But there's also leaders who made positive impact in the world and business. And in fact, many of us still quote them today, right? We still use them as an inspiration in our lives because of their strong, positive leadership character. And the strange thing is, both types of these leaders truly believe and risk their lives trying to achieve their goal. But only one type can truly last, and that is the leader with good character. And leaders must realize this. So if we can lead right today during these turbulent times, can you imagine how much better we'll be when times are normal again? Okay, so before I start, I want to ask, is everybody okay? Can people hear me? And do we have any questions out there?
Yeah, Coach D. I think we can hear you
Not you,
fine.
not you.
Yeah, yeah.
No, not you.
I do have a question.
Okay, okay, Chris,
Yeah,
go ahead.
this I busted out from the Leadership Encyclopedia.
Uh,
A couple of minutes ago, you mentioned that leaders have to step up, especially now, right?
yes.
In these uncertain times. So you mentioned a couple simple examples. But let me ask you this question.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe we can draw some inspiration or guidance from that. Maybe you can let us know, who do you Coach D, who do you look for, for inspiration, and or mentorship?
Okay. All right. So now you go. You want to go back to when I was a little baby boy.
Sure.
Actually, no. I think there'll probably be about three, four people, that probably three, that I strongly can resonate with. Okay. One taught me how to protect myself. Okay. And he taught me not to get because being in the States, we get picked on a lot. So, he taught me how to be more confident in myself. And another one taught me how to be more entrepreneurial. Okay, so he would tell me how to look how to solve problems, how to look for things that can help people and find ways to service them or help them or provide for them. And I think the final one would be while I was working in these .com companies, that I was able to have one CEO, and he was awesome. I would think he was probably one of the better leaders that I've met. That he had the ability to take his father's company and bring it public. Okay, so that was an inspiration. So he taught me a lot of tricks about doing IPOs and you know all the corporate stuff that a lot of people talk about these days. And even though his wife was his a vice president, if I had anything that I had any complaints, he would give me the authority and say, listen, this is your department, you have to stand up for it. Okay, and even though it was his wife. Okay, of course he wouldn't tell his wife that he said that, right? But yeah, so he would tell me to stand up for myself, stand up for my team, and to do protect my members. And so that's what I did. So I would say about these three people, and of course besides me, I have my faith, which that helps a lot. Does that help, Chris? So Anand, Frank.
Yes, yes, it does, Coach D. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Okay, Frank, Anand, we're okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, fine.
Awesome, awesome. All right, great. All right, so now we're going to look into some of these things. So here's a list. It's not an exhaustive one, right? But there's some basic skill sets for a new or even like tenure leader to have. So people would want to come work for you. Okay, and this is probably truer for entrepreneurs because most large organizations have some type of leadership or mentoring programs to help leaders grow in their positions, right? So some of the points here can sometimes overlap with each other, which is in part one, in part and part of growing, right? So the first one is we're going to talk about would be communication. Okay, if you have an opportunity to lead, regardless of your position or title, good communication skills are absolutely crucial to be able to guide team members to achieve a needed activity or goal. In fact, according to Forbes, right, Generation Xers, which is age about 40 to 65, were the first generation who started asking for feedback. All right, so the baby boomers, they had a different mindset. They said, okay, we just have to grit it out, right? They grew up in a time of war, so everything had to be tough. Nobody had any like heart to heart and touchy feely kind of things, right? But Xers did, and they were the first one to start asking for feedback. And then now we have people who are the millennials, okay, which are age around from 21 and 41, and these two are very very big in the workforce now, right? And millennials love to get instant feedback, right? So even more so than Xers. So we have to learn how to be able to communicate with this group of these generations, all right, to be able to make them feel appreciated, make them feel wanted, right? um, but before we can be a good communicator, a big part of communication is to able to listen. Okay. When we say listening, it's not listening and finishing the other person's sentence for them aloud or even inside our head, right? What I mean is we should be actively listening. As a coach, we are taught to be actively listening to what the coachee is saying. And we do this by putting things down. We stop what you're doing and we look at the individual speaking to you, right? It's clarifying when they're not communicating clearly. So if someone says something to you and you say, "I'm sorry, can you? I don't understand. Can you explain that?" Right? It's getting confirmation, right? It's reconfirming things to make sure they are understood, right? And by communicating well, this allows leaders to shape others' thoughts and ideas toward a common goal, right? So can you imagine a general telling his soldiers, okay, we got to do this, and that by when, and when, and but they don't know what, they don't know where, they don't know when. right? Can you imagine what kind of chaos you're going to have, right? After they provide all the proper information, then they can provide their team with everything they need to be successful and just get the hell out of the way, right? Setting clear expectations and explaining what the completion line is. That's all you need to do, right? And we're going to go through some of these things when we're talking about delegating and being positive and sharing the vision, right? So being able to express yourself openly and build empathy with others is building a good foundation for being an effective leader. Now, the reason I mentioned empathy here is because empathy and sympathy are not the same, right? A true leader has enough open mindedness to understand their followers' motivations, their hopes, their dreams, and problems so that they can forge a deep personal connection with them. Empathy is basically understanding, right? Um, Many folks can confuse empathy with sympathy. Even we understood this as coaches that we learned this, and a lot of even back then practicing coaches had the wrong definition, right? Understand where people are coming from helps facilitate a more human environment where team members are more appreciated, and in turn, they create better collaboration within a team, right? So if they feel appreciated, they feel understood, right? They when they have grievances, they feel that they okay. Let's use a more out of place non-corporate word. They feel more loved. Okay, basically they feel more loved, right? So let's say, for example, if an employee is constantly 15 minutes late to the office or completing projects on an agreed time, right? A good leaders won't blame them right away. And even better leaders will solve the why question. Why are they late? What's the real meaning of what they're saying? And how can we help them to win? Maybe they're dealing with a personal struggle at home, whatever it could be, right? Maybe they have a health issue. Maybe they have they have a car that always breaks down, right? And as leaders, we help them to improve their effectiveness by understanding the situation better and offering help instead of just reprimanding them. We I think we have kids, or we've dealt with kids, and how many times we could yell at them, right? And what does it do afterwards? After you complain, you yell at them a lot, everybody just leaves angry, so that it's not helpful. So today we see and hear in the news about protests and riots all around the world. And some of us may judge and complain, but do we really know why, or we are we just hearing part of the story, right? So I'm not advocating any kind of protest, anything like that of that nature, please, okay? But remember, Martin Luther King said, he used another word, but we're going to use protest, all right? He says, protest is the language of the unheard, right? So empathy is the understanding of others' true feelings without falling into oh, poor you, and let's all feel sorry for so and so. It's basically understanding and letting people feel heard and being present for them, right? We can say we are present, but you know what? We don't get to say that, right? Others can tell if we're present or not. So a leader, we don't want our people to be unheard. Next, okay, integrity, right? C.S. Lewis said integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, right? Without integrity, no real success is possible. Think about it. You cannot expect your followers to be honest when you lack integrity yourself, right? An honest leader succeeds when they stick to their word, live by their core values, and they lead by example and follow through. Integrity is a cornerstone of all human qualities, right? It doesn't matter what business you're in, what career you're in, right? There are many things to look for in people with integrity, such as admitting mistakes, highlighting the work of their employees and downplaying their own contribution, right? Giving the benefit of doubt when circumstances are unclear, being appreciative of people's time. Okay, so these are some of the things that people would appreciate as a leader that you would have. Okay, next, We're going to talk about self awareness because self awareness is all about recognizing and understanding how your emotions both affect you, your interactions with others, and impact on others' emotional state. Now, this involves being conscious of your own emotional state or feeling. And this is something that can be challenging for a number of reasons. Okay. So, firstly, our emotions can change from 1 minute to the next. Secondly, we may experience a variety of emotions all at the same time. And thirdly, the times when it's most important to be aware of your emotions are the times when you are under stress and therefore least likely to do so. And finally, you may have certain medical blocks and not be prepared to recognize certain emotions for what they really are, right? So by having more self-awareness allows you to build and strengthen your emotional quotient. Okay, so we heard about EQ before. Okay, so that's how we build our EQ. So we're more aware of other people. Okay, next is humility. When it comes to leadership, it can be tempting to become overconfident with a new title or status. I mean, think about it. I think even when we started our business and then we started getting successful, yeah, we got a little bit cocky, let's say, right? We were very happy. We thought, wow, we were on top of the world. It happens. Okay. So, however, great leadership styles focus on problem solving and team dynamics, such as more than self promotion, right? So, a leadership has to be like they have to be focused on the problems, they have to focus on the team dynamics, not on themselves. Okay. A great leader will never be effective if they're more concerned with themselves than with the well being of their team, right? It's a normal character, right? If you are big inside, you will be big outside. And being humble and vulnerable with your team members will make your leadership much more relatable and effective. You're also able to humanize the business, right? Being human, you become more approachable. And by being approachable, you'll be able to understand your people better because they're willing to talk to you, right? Number five is resilience. Now, the true grit of a leader is not how they perform during good times, right? Everybody can perform during good times, but how do they roll up their sleeves and produce when shit hits the fan, right? Great leaders with positive attitudes lead by example, and they rally to their team no matter the circumstances. And this inherent positivity that helps relate to situations with a calm, collected manner and focus on solutions rather than problems. It's usually the followers focus on the problems, right? Leaders focus on solutions. So resilience is a leadership trait that comes with experience, empathy, and can be learned every day in our lives. But I do want to stress one thing, right, that we have to be careful of, right, especially during these turbulent times, right? Although some leaders wish to move forward during difficult times, so your team members may be in a fear mode or in mode of paralysis. So what I'm trying to say is like when you're in the mood, you're gung ho, you're like, okay, yeah, we see room for expansion, we see growth, but during times like this pandemic, people may be feeling they're afraid, right? Maybe they don't want to see so many customers, right? Because they have parents that they live with, and so they have concerns. Okay, maybe they have children at home that aren't going to school, and they have to be home at an X amount of time. By expanding your company, what you're doing is basically asking them to work overtime, right? So being resilient, we also have to be aware, right? So, and again, that's when empathy helps to understand them better, right? We hear them, we let them know they're being heard. And as a leader, you may be ready to lead a charge, but if your people are risk adverse at the time, all your motivation or gung ho talk isn't going to help them. Okay. If somebody's in fear, think about it. If we are in fear and somebody's saying to you, don't worry, jump, it's okay. Don't worry, you can do it, you can do it. But you're scared half, it's going to be hard, right? You're not going to do it with total confidence. So we have to be careful when we talk about resilience. It's good to do it, but make sure your team's ready for it. Okay. Next is vision. Jack Welch, famous CEO, he said, good business leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion. John Maxwell stated that people buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. So a company's vision only goes as far as a leader's influence over others, right? A great leader clearly sets the organizational direction and exercises keen decisiveness. Decision making is key to new ideas, ensuring that team members know the bottom line and understand the goals and the mission in front of them. So true leaders inspire loyalty, enthusiasm, and commitment. Help remind everyone of the big picture and challenge people to outdo themselves. So sharing this vision and compelling others to act is a secret trait of a successful leader. And a lot of people may question this. I guess it sounds good when we say influence, but at the same time, some people would consider it brainwashing. Okay, so it depends how you want to use it. Okay, next is, let's see, I believe I missed one. Influence. Okay, so when we talk about influence, we talk about good influence, we talk about bad influence, right? I guess that would really depend on our character, right? Now, some leaders, right, when they get promoted, they feel they attained a certain level of leadership status, or respect will automatically be given to them. But sorry, this is BS, okay? Leadership and influence are not interchangeable, and respect has to be earned, not given. And here are some of the things that leaders can do to increase their influence, right? Um, Clearly state what they want, connect with the people emotionally, make others feel important, be vulnerable and charismatic, work toward commonly shared goals, and ask for suggestions and input. You want to build real, lasting relationships, and you need to act professionally at all times, regardless in person or especially on your social media, right? Have self awareness. So you need to know when you may be acting out of character due to uncertainty, right? Lack of care, there may be like lack of clarity, or you may be acting out of character because of intimidation, right? So whatever it may be, it could be a pretty girl there, it could be someone that has more um, experience in that particular department, and you may feel you feel like, well, how can I be leading him, right? So you may feel a little bit intimidated regarding that. Now, we spoke about positivity, right? So leaders inspire the team not based on their own goals or outcomes, but on their exhibited behavior, their life outlook, and attitude in every given situation. And I think as parents, I think we could resonate this a lot more. And this is very true in times of crisis, right? It's often said that employees and direct reports exhibit the behavior of their managers. So, and a good leader leads and lead by example at all times while mirroring how they want their team to act, right? So, I guess if you see your boss is constantly late to meetings, constantly late at any appointments, after a while you start telling yourself, well, he's not going to be there on time anyway, so don't worry about it, right? And then you start being late, right? So this comes down to, so being positive, right? Even the calmest workplaces can get stressful at times. So it's important how leaders react to this stress with a positive outlook rather than getting flustered and start yelling and screaming and throwing things or even blaming people. Okay. Any questions so far? I know this is a little bit of a long list, but if there's anybody that has any questions that, or maybe I lost you somewhere. Everybody okay?
Uh, Go on,
Yes,
go on,
we're
sir.
all okay.
Okay, that's
All
good.
okay.
That's good. All right, great. Thank you. All right. So the next one is to delegate, right? And I think a lot of managers have a little bit entrepreneurs, managers, they have a difficult time to transition from shifting from doing to leading, right? Many new leaders probably are accustomed to doing all the work themselves and struggle to lead let others handle responsibilities on their own, right? But a great leader must elevate their team, right? They got to be more essential. They have to be, and less involved. Right? One of the most important leadership qualities of a good leadership is delegating tasks and elevating their team. Through this delegation and elevation, um, they can contribute in the most meaningful way. They aren't afraid of their team members, right? They're not afraid of them being successful, and they don't feel threatened by them. And to make sense of this, you must allow and expect them to make mistakes, right? You need to be able to trust them, uh, or they'll never learn. And you will be micromanaging their work during your whole leadership tenure, right? So can you imagine a basketball player, a cricket player? He's always sitting on the side. The coach won't let him in. Okay, how is this player ever going to learn, right? And because we don't give him a chance to. And number 10, confidence, right? So when we talk about confidence, we as leaders need to be very confident in how we express ourselves. Okay. And to be a confident leader, you need to roll up your sleeves and take charge, right? You have to be assertive. Okay. um, you should get buy-in and input from a team, of course, right? And you need to make decisions and execute. This will give you the confidence to lead, because knowing that your plans and your visions are not only viable for the team, but the absolute best decision possible for your business. Okay. So the more you believe in yourself, the more you'll be able to manage a stressful situation, right? So true leaders are the ones that don't just talk about problems, but they come up with their own solutions and they execute, right? They're assertive, they're fearless, they execute. And notice, by all no means that we mentioned that leaders can just command and order their teams around. Besides having good leadership characteristics, they still need to lead from the front. And I think I mentioned this last time, right? And I'm going to say it again, having great leadership characteristics help motivate, empower, create good collaboration among team members, and humanize businesses, which in turn can improve retention and allow you to attract like-minded employees. And please keep in mind, there are many false confidences as well, right? Being loud doesn't make you right. Many bosses like to lead by saying, okay, so let's just save time and just do it my way. Just do it this way, right? And some may be thinking, fine, it's your business, right? And, I mean, truly, unless it meant for you doing a lot of redundant work as a team member, you probably just keep quiet. You say, okay, fine, right? And you just do what the boss says. And bosses wonder why they can't find good team players. It's probably because they don't think of their company as a team, but more of something that is theirs, right? This is my company, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you just do it my way or the highway, right? And so you wonder why people don't care about your business. You wonder why people think like, oh, why can't I find good helpers? Because you don't treat them like team players. You treat them like hired help, right? So think about how would you feel, right? So if your boss is micromanaging your work and changing everything you've done, I don't know if you felt this before. I felt this before, right? You're not feeling trusted, right? So so we have to be able to understand it and realize it as a leader, okay? And so how else can leaders provide value to a business? Okay, we're not just talking about being good to our team members and being communicating, etc. Okay, as a leader, we show our value by making a company as a whole successful. Okay, because if the company does not succeed, business won't sustain, and you won't have a job, especially in today's market. Right? Leaders can do this by having a realistic vision of what can be done. Okay, they need to explore new business opportunities and partnerships. They need to know how to increase the bottom line. Right? Best case scenario, leaders have to grow their business in good times and sustain in tough times. Okay, so this graph from Harvard Business Review says a lot. Okay, it shows the impact of extraordinary leaders on the bottom line of the organization. All right, so in the first column, right, the vertical axis shows a total net income of 1.2 million in losses for the bottom 10% of poor leaders. Right, we got 2.4 million in profit for the middle 80%, and almost 4.5 million in gains for the top 10%. Now, regardless, okay, I know we're talking millions and millions here, right? But regardless of how many digits are shown in this graph, right? In summary, poor leaders lose money, good leaders make profit, and extraordinary leaders more than double the company's profit in comparison to the other 90%. So whether you're making an extra 10,000 or 50,000 a month, right? It would depend a lot on how you're leading your team. How much confidence are you giving your team? So, another part of how leaders should be leading. Leaders should be developing more leaders in the company. A lot of people say, well, leaders should be developing have more followers, right? And develop their followers, but actually they should be creating more leaders. Okay. Remember, we mentioned this in part one of the series that companies can outgrow a leader, right? So if a company gets big enough, okay, I think we've seen it, let's say recently, let's say, um, okay, off my head, I don't have anything, but there are certain times when a company can get big enough where the CEO is fired. Okay, or maybe the someone that has to take over from a family business because it got so big that they can't handle it, right? So as a leader, in order to keep up with this, we have to remember these four steps, right? First, you need to learn to fly, which is, first lead yourself. You lead yourself by constantly growing yourself, right? And that means, remember, if you're doing something else, you can't do something else. So if you want to learn yourself or you want to watch TV, right? You want to develop yourself better, or you want to go hang out with your friends and go drinking. Okay, so there's a choice you can make, right? Number two, you need to encourage people to want to follow you, because with our followers wanting to follow you, okay, not forcing them to follow you, right? They won't want to grow with you because they don't agree with your values, maybe your leading methods or development activities, and maybe you don't communicate well, or it could be that you don't give credit or acknowledge good work, right? And then step three is only then can you start to develop a team, right? We're all human beings. We all have feelings. So as a leader, we need to touch their hearts before we can touch their hands. And there's an old saying, and it's a quote that I always use to remind myself, right? I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who the author was, but it's a very meaningful quote. And you guys may have heard it before, right? It says, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care, right? And maybe this is, who is that? Hi, Agnes? Anyway,
Yes,
hi.
Agnes just
Okay,
joined in. Yes.
okay, right? So, and maybe this was for teens, but uh, I feel that it's very applicable to adults as well. And I think we're all been adults. We're here as adults, and we've worked for people before. So I'm sure that if we felt that our boss cared for us, I think we would be more appreciated, right? So do we as leaders do this so we can take it easy? Sorry, not at all, Ben. In fact, this may sound easy, but it's not. Whether you're a new leader or a seasoned leader, these characteristics ensure you deploy the skill sets properly so the company can grow and succeed. People usually think that a company's success comes from a business strategy alone. And there are many reasons which amount to the rise of a company, and strong leadership is one of them. Okay, they're the ones that keep the ball rolling. They keep the oil, the machine oiled. Okay, and although it takes time and work for your team members to follow you, it will be worth it. Remember, the first 3 months they meet you, they have to follow you. After that, they should want to follow you. You know, and as we mentioned in part one, our organization growth depends on our people assets growth, right? If we want our companies to grow, we need our people to grow at the same time, okay? And a highly effective organization, a high level of performance is observed across the board. The leaders and the senior managers do as much work as the junior managers and the general staff, okay? So if you look at the blue chart here, you'll notice that the leaders aren't slacking off, right? If you look at the red line, they're out there just as hard as the rest of the staff. Okay, some places maybe even harder. Okay, so you're showing them that you talk the talk and you walk the walk. You gain respect and you build confidence among the team. And this is what it looks like from leading from the front as to leading from behind. Okay, so Agnes, hi. You came just in time for my ending. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. Our listeners on Facebook, thank you so much. Happy New Year. And if there's anything, I want to, if there's anything that wasn't clear during our webinar, or if there's any questions now, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you as best I can. So if you guys want to unmute your mic, I'm here for you. Okay,
Thanks,
don't
Coach
rush all
D.
at one time now, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Coach D, for sharing. For the people on the session here in Zoom right now, if you have questions, Agnes, I know you joined a little bit late, but if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask Coach D. And I'm watching the Facebook Live as well. We got several comments in there thanking you, Coach D.
All right, cool.
A lot of them are saying agreeing with being loud doesn't mean that it's right. There's a gentleman also, Joseph. I know Joseph. He says he likes the attitude of touching the heart of people that comes with empathy.
For sure.
So
For sure.
yeah,
And that's
eh,
normal. You know what I mean? And like I said earlier, that a lot of leaders don't realize this. A lot of bosses, a lot of leaders, they really don't realize it. It's always like it's either my way or the highway. And if you want to lead a good company, you want your staff to be able to give them their all. You're gonna have to give them your all, you know?
sure. Coach D, let me ask you a favor.
Sure.
Maybe you can unshare your slides, then we can get a gallery view. That might
Sure.
be a little bit more clear for us. And I do have a couple I do have a couple questions, but
Why?
I'll defer to the Frank, Anand, and Agnes if you have any.
Yes, I do have a question, D, for you.
Oh,
Go ahead,
okay,
Frank,
sure,
please.
sure.
Sorry,
This
hold
is,
on.
yeah,
Coach D, if you can let's see, unshare.
Got it.
Just click stop sharing. Yeah,
I'm trying to find
because
that button.
yeah, it should be somewhere at the top because you have a picture of me climbing up that cliff. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and then it's not really a picture that I like to share.
Okay.
Why do you laugh like that at me, Frank? That's quite hurtful.
It's weird. Oh, I see, I see. Okay. 1 second. I will stop share now.
all
How's
right.
that work?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so
Cool.
much, Coach D. Frank, go ahead with your question.
All right. Okay. D, this is a very good sharing about this leadership. Like this know-how thing.
Thank you,
Good
Frank.
point. And just want to get an insight from you, Dee. Because so far in the beginning of the year, everybody like they're promoting change and also how to increase sales and how to make your company turn around. But there are very less that talk about leadership right now. So what is
Right.
the insight from you?
Well, like I think what I was trying to explain today was exactly that, right? A lot of people, a lot of bosses, they want to focus on going forward, push, 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 right? And again, if we have to understand why isn't our team pushing as hard? Are they afraid of something? Okay, again, right? So is what is holding them back, and are your staff members feeling appreciated? Okay, right now is a time of let's say a pandemic, and many people may feel that they don't want to go out to see clients at this time. They don't want to be able to risk themselves. Okay, at this particular time, and this is what I talked about being resilient. Right, bosses they want to go. Especially now they're losing money. They want to improve themselves, so they want to make the best, or let's say use their people to the limit, right? And I understand you're paying them a salary, but then again, we have to understand, right? Don't forget, we're leading here, we're not pushing here, right? And again, this is the difference from leading from the front as to from behind.
Mm.
Can I add on to what you just said, Coach D? Because we had something this week. The first is Frank. If I can just add to what Coach D said, not taking away anything. It's really more of if you want your team to succeed, right? You have to give them the tools and the skills in order to be able to succeed. We're doing a training for quite a large company in the Philippines. It's all online, and they're in I won't mention what field they're in because maybe some of them watching, but they're in a field where it was very face to face centric, all right. And so the pandemic kind of destroyed that, and so they were so face to face centric that when they wanted to open up a new territory, they had to open up an office and a branch. And so obviously we cannot really do that nowadays. And so for the first few months, the CEO, who's actually not in their line, he's from a different educational background and technical background. So he was telling them, you got to go out and get more clients, get more clients. And so that went on for several months. So finally, what they did was they said, you know what, we got to get someone in here to train them on how to sell in a non face to face situation. And so that's when they called on me and we started having conversations, and they were saying, are you sure we can do that? And I said, well, shoot, there's only one way to find out, right? Let's
Yep.
train them, set some KPIs, and then let's get it done.
Yep.
So if we want our teams to be able to perform better, as leaders, we have to find out, do they have the right tools? Do they have the right skills? Especially nowadays,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Agnes, if you have questions, you can type it out. I'll be able to. I'm not highly educated, but I can read.
Yeah, that goes for me too. I
It
can read,
is
don't worry.
very, very good point, Coach T and Chris. Very, very good point. Yeah,
Awesome,
thank
Okay.
you.
thank you, Frank. But Coach D, I have a question. Don't groan, all right?
Don't
Um,
groan.
yeah, there's we have all kinds of leaders, right? And then you mentioned the 10 things that leaders should have.
At least the minimum, okay? It's
Right,
not a
minimum.
yeah.
Right. So, um, we have good leaders, bad leaders, whatever label we want to call them. What
Hmm.
do you think is a okay? Besides the cliche of like being out of touch with your team and sitting in the corner office in your leather chair and giving directions, like the a five-star general. What do you think is a dangerous trait that leaders sometimes have, and we should get rid of not get rid of leaders, but get rid of those traits, failing which we get rid of the leader.
Off my head, I can
Yeah.
tell you right now, off my head, the first thing that comes to mind is pride and ego.
Okay,
Okay,
agreed.
so if any boss,
How about
um,
excessive pride?
I'm
Because we
sorry.
all have pride. We all have pride and egos, right? But excessive is what you
Right.
mean, right?
So yes, of course. So when we talk about pride and ego, we're not talking about we're very proud of our team. Okay.
Mm,
We're very we're very very proud, and we like to boast about our team, how good we are, et cetera, et cetera. I think that itself is not good as well, because except with that, then you're going to have your colleagues, other team members in the other company saying, oh, you guys are show offs, you guys are this and that. Okay. And you get your teammates again, right? So we talked about this before, how managers can create that kind of attitude, right? And then the teammates start following that attitude and they become cocky.
sure.
Okay, so we don't want to be able to have too much of that in the company. That's why we want to have that humility. Okay,
Mm,
so regardless of being you're doing well, right? You always want to say, hey, it's a team effort, right? And not only you and your team, but the rest of the departments that are a part of the company, right? Because if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for our admin, right, we couldn't get things done, right?
yeah,
If it wasn't for the sales team, that couldn't get done. If it wasn't productions, we wouldn't have anything to sell. So I
right.
think the ego and pride is probably the first thing comes to mind, because who wants to work for a, I'm sorry to say this, but asshole.
Beep. Okay.
Beep. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mr.
We
D,
shouldn't use words
Yes.
like that because it really pisses me off.
yeah. Just now you mentioned about empathy.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
that there is also a threshold that sometimes a leader, being very considerate and empathy, as you say, uh, come to a point that, in a way, that they come to a sphere where it's more pleasing, rather than a leader should be have a point of firmness,
Yes.
no, in terms of action or direction and visions.
That's right. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Therefore, that part of balancing it. Uh,
Well,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is where I feel that resilience would answer that question. Okay, so I think it was number 5 when we talked about resilience, where they will, even not only in good times, but during tough times, they will, roll up the sleeves and they will get in there and say, okay, guys, we have to do this. Okay, we have to get this done. Because think about it, Anand, if you're too soft on your people, and if your people, if you know your people and they work well that way, great, right? But if they don't work that way and they start taking advantage of you, all right, and they start picking on you because you're such a nice guy, and they tell you this, oh, Mr. Anand, I'm not coming to work tonight. Oh, yeah, it's my wife's birthday. You know how it is. I gotta take a day off, and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. I understand. That's not gonna work. How long are you gonna have a job? Right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Hi,
Um,
Agnes. Welcome back.
we Coach Lee, we got a couple questions here on
Sure.
the Facebook Live. I'll read out some of the comments first. Okay.
Okay.
Give credit where it's deserved. I think that was in the trait where we don't want to have in our leaders, right?
Right.
And then Sean says the most dangerous thing in a leader is belittling the employees. And then there's another comment that says we can certainly sell in a non-face-to-face environment with the right skills taught to them.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a question, Coach D, from Sean Amaran. Let's see. He says, Coach D, why are bosses not keen to hear out employees?
Okay, so this is a lot of times where, so let's say if you're the boss has his own business, okay? So if he has his own business, he's treating it like it's theirs, and he's not being treating his staff as a team player, right?
Mm,
So by treating that company as their own, they want to protect it. So they don't want to hear what other people have to say, right? They want to just they think they've been in the field long enough. They don't want to risk wasting any more money, right?
mm.
They just want to do it like I mentioned earlier. This is, let's just save time, let's say save money, uh, do it my way.
Okay,
You know?
so if let's say they don't want to hear them out, how do we get them to hear us out? How,
Good
what
question.
can we do?
This is what I call manage upwards.
Mm,
Okay, so let's say, like Sean just mentioned, Sean, you mentioned that sometimes your boss doesn't want to listen to you. So let's say if you're asking him to, you're giving him a good idea. You're giving him a good idea of how to uh, save money. Okay, so
Mm.
let's use that for instance. And then you
All
say,
right.
but so by managing upward, we basically we ask a question, of course, in a polite way, says, Mr. So and so, Mrs. So and so, do you think it would be helpful if our company can save X amount of dollars per month? Right. So
Okay.
instead of telling them, you know what, we should do this and this and this, right? As the owner, they don't want to hear that we have to do more things, right? They don't want to hear they may have to spend more money to do something.
Sure.
So by managing upward, we told boss, what do you think if we could save 5,000 US a week? Now you got his attention, right? So now he's gonna tell you, he's not gonna tell you to get out of his face. He's gonna
Right.
say, how? What do you know that I don't know? Right?
Right.
So now you've opened up a dialogue with him that you got his attention, right? So instead of trying to disrespect him in front of the rest of the team, instead of trying to show him off, saying that you know more, you know better than
Mm.
than he does. So instead, we use a question method, all
Right.
right? And as we
Go
mentioned
ahead.
earlier,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, did I answer the question, Sean?
I Yeah, I think so. Um, I It's not so much where we say, "Hey boss, we should do this," right?
Right,
It's
right.
more of "Hey boss, what do you think if we do this?" And then it's like we make it seem like it's their idea, and then it's like,
Yes.
"Oh yeah, I think we should do this. Yeah, go ahead and do it." Kind of like
Right,
that, right?
exactly. So,
Yeah.
and that's what we call managing upwards. That's all.
Hmm. Okay.
Right.
Let's see. Uh,
D, Mr.
Yes.
D, yeah. What do you think in the process of leadership? Some bosses may overlook empowering their employees and also bring the ideas of ownership on whatever the employee has to do for the company and personal development. What I saw is these are lacking clarity in bosses. Yeah.
Well, truthfully, Anand, you're 100% right. And if it wasn't, if if you even if you can notice it, how much more leadership development and training is needed around the world, right? You know what I mean? If you notice it, then obviously the junior staff, they realize it. You know, I mean, even managers, new entry people, they feel it, they notice it. Okay, and so that's a problem. Leaders need to be able to um, let go, right? They need to be able to trust their people. So let me ask you, Anand, what is the main reason someone doesn't trust you?
Um, from my
not
experience,
from personal experience, yeah.
from
Yeah.
my experience, no. I don't know. Usually, I get headhunted and
No. Okay.
on yeah.
But in life, as human
Mm,
beings, right?
mm.
Usually we don't trust people because we don't know
We
them.
don't like them, or we
Uh,
don't know them.
Right.
for for my personal value of life, I work with positivity.
Okay.
What people does, it doesn't matter in my threshold.
Okay.
Okay, what
Okay.
I impact onto humanity in the way I think about humanity, that matter me most. Yeah,
Right.
and with this, it works because negativity, in the process, it will fall down and accept the
Hmm.
positivity is in of matter of results. Yeah, and this is what I saw. It's just a
Hmm.
matter of time that no with your characters, I say, no,
Right.
the negativity will fail, will fail.
Right. Exactly. So
Yeah.
in this case, you have good character, and people would probably want to work with you than someone else who doesn't have that kind of character in their leadership style, right?
Mm, yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Anand. Yeah, and I totally agree with you, and I'm glad that you see you can see it from a point of view where by empowering people, you will get more from them, right? You're allowing them to grow, you're trusting them, and by that, they feel trusted, they feel appreciated, they're gonna do work, they're gonna work harder for you.
Mm. Coach D,
Yes,
I think we'll wrap up in a couple of minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the Facebook Live. Oh,
sure.
ladies and gentlemen, we are recording this session. I'll send the recording link to Coach D. He can put it on his page, and I believe I'll have all of your email addresses. I'll just shoot over the link over to you as well. Agnes, you can catch the first part that you probably missed. So let me go ahead and stop the Facebook Live first.
Okay,
I'll say goodbye to all the everyone on Facebook.
okay.
We are stopping that right now. Okay. All right. And we are done with the Facebook Live. Before we move on, if I can ask everyone a favor, I'd love to take screenshots. We'll share it with everyone as well. So we'll take a minimum of 2 shots. So the first shot, we can all kind of look serious. We want to look as serious as Anand. On the count of three, one, two, three.
I think it's better now.
Oh, wait
Well,
a
I
minute.
got you to smile, Anand,
I,
right?
I didn't
Okay,
put my
we'll take
makeup
another
on yet.
shot. We'll take another shot. I'm getting it ready now. If we can do like either a thumbs up or the millennial love sign. Hold on, let me get that. Okay. Uh, one sec here. Okay, the millennials will do the love sign, Agnes, you and me. Okay, on the count of three. Oh, you changed to thumbs up. Okay, on the count of three. One, two, three. Awesome. Thank you. Agnes, I do have to mention one thing. The next time you bring wine, you got to bring enough for everybody. All right? Just thumbs up
Wine?
if you're okay. Yeah, I saw her sipping wine. And then next time you do that, make sure you let us know and we can do the same thing. All right? Okay? Her mic is out, so
Yeah,
we cannot hear her.
no worries,
And
Agnes. No
she's
worries.
apologizing to everyone.
Yeah.
No problem. Next time, get the wine ready for all of us.
When you
All
come
right?
back, Agnes, we'll have wine, okay?
Thank you, Mr. D, and everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you, Anand.
Awesome.
Okay, nice seeing you. Frank,
Thank you.
is there any more questions? Anybody have anything? No?
It's fine for the
Nope.
first day for me.
No problem. Guys, thank you. Okay, well, Happy New Year, guys. Be safe, okay? Be
And Happy
safe.
New Year,
All
everyone.
right?
All
Good
right.
Thank
New
you,
Have
Year.
a wonderful
Agnes.
evening. Good night. Good night.
Good night.